Hello, Asher. Good evening. How are
Hello,
you?
Ron. How's it going?
Fantastic. Yourself?
I'm doing well.
Where I'm catching you?
It's interestingly, I'm home today, and over the last couple of years, I've tried to like be as home as possible, as much as home as possible, because I have 2 year I have two kids who are 4 and 6, so I want to spend a lot more time with them. So I'm home.
Okay, fantastic. Great. So first, welcome to my podcast. It's a pleasure having you here. I think your background is one of the most interesting one that I think of, just because it's so interesting in terms of the roles that you have taken in the past, your journey, and of course, partnership leaders.
Yep.
So first, congratulations on your latest appointment to be the CEO of Partnership Leaders. Uh, I think it's one of the greatest community that I've been part of, and I think really highly about it. Of course, we will discuss that during our session here more deeply. But first, maybe you should just introduce yourself to our
Sure.
audience.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah. Well,
ahead.
and thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for being a
Always.
part of this journey that we started 4 years ago. And for the audience who don't know, Iran and I talk like at I think the oddest hours for both of us, right? And so, and every time we get on the phone, it's like at least a 30 or 40 minute conversation, which normally ends with, Asher, you should go figure out how to do this, you know? And
Yeah.
so, it's like, the relationship goes on for quite some time. And I think actually we met at Catalyst last year, right? For the first time.
Face to face, of course, but I've been
Yeah.
on board the partnership leaders for the past
Yep.
3.5 years or so.
Yep.
So
Yep.
almost from the
Yep.
very beginning.
Yep. No, and there's quite a few people now that have actually been on the journey for quite some time. But to answer your question, yes, I'm Mathew. I'm the CEO of Partnership Leaders. It's my privilege to and honor to be able to actually go do this full time. And I always tell people it's very rare that you can um, go work on a project that becomes a company with people that you love and adore, with an audience that you can spend a lot of time with, and in a domain that you actually have deep experience in, right? And so there's just a lot of luck involved in all this stuff happening, and I'm really appreciative of that. I can actually go do this because I've been wanting to do this forever.
Great. Can you kind of share with us a little bit about your background because it's
Sure.
it's very interesting to our audience just where people
Yeah.
started because where how the journey kind of evolved into where you are
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. No, we totally can. So, I grew up in Pakistan, and I moved to the US in 2001 for college, and or university as they call it here, you know.
Yeah.
And then from there I went, and I was a computer science major. I went straight for computer science because, you know, you're a brown kid, so your parents want you to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, or something like that, right?
Right.
But but I always found computers fascinating, and so I went and got a degree in computer science. But as I was going through coursework, I got involved in the Associated Students Incorporated. And the Associate Students Incorporated is actually a $10 or $12 million business on campus, and it's technically student body, right? But they have revenue. They're the leaders who get involved in it, like learn how to run a business, and really run an association business. And it's interesting as I'm saying this because that's a little bit of what Partnership Leaders is also today, you
Right.
know. So it's good. It's a good thing we're having this conversation because it's actually bringing up a lot of memories from like all the stuff that we did there. But yeah, so I came here. I went to school. I was part of a business organization on campus, and I figured out that connecting technology to business and translating technology into business requirements could be a big thing. And so I went and did both the extracurricular activities plus the university stuff, education. And then from there, you know, uh, I I was visiting the computer science club one day, and I met someone there who was actually this chief technology officer of their company. His name is Hussein Zaidi. Interestingly, Hussein's dad and my dad actually worked together in Pakistan, so it's actually even more lucky, I would say. And then so from there, I went and joined this company called Notice Technologies. And I think I lasted in a computer science role, which is really a technical support role, which is what everybody else starts in, right? You can either start with like a junior engineer or a technical support. I started on the support side. I think I lasted maybe like 4 months or 5 months there. And I lasted 4 or 5 months because the journey that had brought me up into Notice was good because it allowed me to understand business concepts, right? But when I landed at Notice, I realized that the salespeople were having a lot more fun, and it just seemed like they were making a lot more money, right? And so I said, okay, well, what do the salespeople do? Because I know what the engineers do, because I've been around engineers for the last 4 or 5 years. And then as I was speaking with the sales folks said, hey, you seem like you can explain technology concepts to business users. Do you want to be a sales engineer? And I said, fantastic, I'll go be a sales engineer. But what is a sales engineer? Turns out it's basically just a demo person, right? And so I started doing demos for the sales team, and I was basically the demo guy. Up until there was 1 week where one of the sales reps was on vacation, and I had to take a call with this company called Aubrey Organics. And while I was on the call, I just said, why don't I even just ask for a deal? Like that's what all the salespeople do, right? And so I asked for the deal, and I got it. But what was interesting about the deal was I think it was like 100K or something like that. It was like the largest deal that the company had done at that time.
Fantastic.
And so basically just got lucky.
Yeah.
You know,
You always need some luck.
You always need some luck, right? So, but the interesting piece even then was like, you have to translate how technology works to their business requirements. And at the end of the day, you actually have to ask for the deal. And so that's how I got into sales. From
So
there,
how'd that evolve into partnerships?
I'm telling you, I'm trying to tell you, right? So now Notice Technologies' model was channel sales.
Okay.
And so once I had learned sales, right, and again, there's like lots of other things that happen in the middle, right? Ultimately, I ended up learning channel sales from this guy called Simon Lamb, who used to be a very senior channel executive. Yeah. And then from there, I went into the Microsoft Dynamics ecosystem, let's call it that, right? And I learned what VARs are, what ISVs are, what LARs are, right? I just got plugged more and more into the Microsoft ecosystem. And so Microsoft has 2 conferences. One is Convergence for the Dynamics group, which is their business applications line. And the other one is, well, at least they used to call it the Worldwide Partner Conference, right? Which is where they invited all their partners to come to, right? And so those are big conferences. And so that's how I started to pick up and learn a lot about how partnerships and how channels, and let's just call it indirect go-to-market works. Right. So, I mean, I can go to the more of the story.
It's good. So that's gave us.
I mean, this podcast may be the first podcast where I've actually told the story.
It reminds me. It's very identical to my journey, but this podcast is not about me. But we will take.
That's okay. I mean, we can talk about your stuff.
And see but it's pretty much the same, because I started as a system engineer with Cisco, and I moved into a sales account management at Cisco, and from there directly into partnership, because I just realized how big and rich is the ecosystem that Cisco has built around channels worldwide. But that's on a different note.
That's okay. So, I mean, we can do this podcast again, and you can tell me your story, or we can just play your time in this story in this. But if we unpack the journey after Notice, so I got an opportunity to join this company called Avalara, and Avalara was a very partner forward company. and I went there because of this guy by the name of Blaise Casillas, who was a very good networker and business person, and just all around like solid guy, right? And he's at Oracle right now. And then there I met Pat Fall, Andrew Kim, Balthazar Wise, Liz Anderson, Matt Cantelis, like Mike Alpert. Like I met all these just really good people, right? And then Pat actually helped me understand like how sales and channel sales really work, but really a little bit more on how sales works, right? And so the first year or so I was in sales at Avalara, and then from there, I always used to think about like leverage. And in sales, you can do 4 deals a month, 6 deals a month, 8 deals a month, like something like some sort of a run rate. But if we want leverage, there must be a way to figure out how to get 50 deals a month done, right? And that it really comes from partnerships in it. And
Really.
so if you want leverage, right, you need to like understand how partnerships work and how do you monetize those relationships for both parties. And even at Avalara, I remember like you had a lot of people that would like sign contracts and stuff, but very few people that actually focus on just monetizing those contracts, right? And what that really means is like, how do you build a go-to-market with your partners? And so as the journey goes, because I had this background in the Microsoft space, and every company wants to partner with Microsoft, so I was in this role. And then the other big company that people wanted to partner with, at least in the Avalara days, was Sage. And so we're continuing to partner with trying to partner with the channel of those companies, trying to partner with the at the corporate level, which is what people call business development or strategic partnerships today, right? And we can go into like defining all this stuff a little bit later. But then what happened really was there's this company called NetSuite and this company called like Intact and this company called Workday started to like just pop up, right? And and because I had ERP and everybody started talking about cloud, and I knew ERP well because of my time in the Dynamics world, right? I started studying like what NetSuite was all about, what Intact was all about, and what Sage was all about, and what Workday was all about. And interestingly, this portfolio of partners was not getting a lot of love at Avalara, but those companies were growing really fast, right? And so I took a move and I pitched a number of people at Avalara to allow me to go and work on NetSuite, Intact, and Workday, and start exploring those like let's call them ecosystems because they're their own ecosystems, right? So right, and actually you can probably even call them platforms, right? Because a whole bunch of companies built on top of them. And so the as the journey goes, like I leave Microsoft and Sage and basically get called that this is like the worst move I could ever make for my career. This like the like it's just people just don't do that because those companies had not made Avalara any money forever. And so tying myself to them would actually be a career limiting move. And so I did some research, and in my thought process, I kind of concluded that like if everybody from PeopleSoft was thinking about Workday and people were joining Workday, right? And a whole bunch of folks from like Oracle and Siebel were moving to NetSuite and Intact, then they're going there to do something. They're not just going to go hang out. And so I said, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go over there. And let's take the risk for a year and a half or 2 years. This may be the worst decision ever, but the world is moving towards cloud. I don't fully understand it, but Avalara is a cloud company or a SaaS company. So like, so they're built in the cloud, but then the business model is SaaS, right? So there's got to be like business model and market alignment with these other companies who are also the same, right? And so I started figuring out like who are all the partnerships people in those companies and what they look like and what their priorities are. And Avalara was kind enough to basically say, here's like a good amount of T&E, do what you want with it. So I would basically just go park myself in the offices of those companies and be a partner manager. But
Nice.
my whole focus was monetizing those relationships through go-to-market activities for both of us, right? And
Okay.
so turns out, as the history would tell you, NetSuite became a blockbuster success.
Right.
Workday became a blockbuster success, and
Absolutely.
so did Intact, right? And all three companies exited, right?
Yep.
But the people in those companies were just incredible. Like I would say I was working for Avalara, but being coached by people in all three companies, right? And for somebody who, let's call it, is driven and would love to get education, I actually got education, exposure, and experience all at the same time without actually having to go to, let's call it, a Stanford, because when people came out of Stanford, they wanted the same roles, and I already had it. And so it was my hypothesis was to spend more time in the field learning from customers and partners versus going to school. But I stayed at Avalara for 7.5 years. I made it to the leadership team. I'll be transparent and say, like, I had a lot of growing up to do, but everybody does. And so but that company like really helped me, and the people there really like were people that gave me the launch pad, right? And so from there, I went to let's say I got my dream was to work for a company in the Bay Area, because my hypothesis was like, if you can learn from other people in the Bay Area and the way people executives get coached and brought up through the Bay Area, that you just build a level of expertise that's just not available in other places. And there
Okay.
are hubs that are upcoming, but it's not the same because all the executives and the people that fund those executives are all here, right? And that was the hypothesis, to leave Avalara and go to this company called Lean Data. Also, I kind of followed the problem because Notice Technologies was a company that focused on e-payments. And before you can charge a credit card, you need to figure out what the tax and shipping rate looks like. And Avalara built the tax component. So I'm like, okay, this is like very close to what I'm already doing. So, and my relationship will transfer, right? But also solving the tax problem sounds like a very niche, but like important problem to go solve. And then when I was at Avalara, we went from, I want to say, 10 integration partners, and I think Avalara just announced that they have 1,200.
1200.
And yeah, and then we went from like maybe like a few hundred channel partners, which the whole program was built on referral partnerships, to, I don't know, like 3 or 4,000 was what they manage right now.
So hold on.
Sure,
I
yeah.
would like to ask you a couple of things, right?
Sure,
Because
yeah, I'll pause, yeah.
it's like a whole building a whole world with, several building blocks that actually bring you to a point where you build a very sustainable, growing um, partnership program, which
Yeah.
has you know, different way to market.
Yep.
So before we continue with your journey, and we will
Sure.
of course do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So till that point, what is partnership for you?
Yeah. And so for me, partnerships was taking resources from both companies, right? From two companies or more, and solving a customer's problem. Also, the solving the customer's problem has to result in some outcome. The outcome for the customer is that they either make money, save money, or solve a compliance need.
Okay.
And the benefit for the companies that are partnering is almost always revenue, right? First.
Right.
And because if they don't acquire those customers, there's no saving those customers. So it's the first step is like figuring out and being focused on like, how does revenue get generated and customers get acquired, and then the second is, how do you provide them a great experience so they stick around, right? And that's pretty much how the direct engine works. It's just translated into the indirect model, and there's one more party or a few other parties involved, requires a little bit more coordination, but it's not rocket science, right? Like it just requires like rigor, which is what I've been talking about since the beginning of the year. It just requires focus and rigor that you have to keep working on this. And there is a repeatable go-to-market in there.
So after you have that kind of baseline, and you mentioned integration partners, you mentioned referrals, how do you scale from them? How you accelerate that fast, going from 100 to 1,200 partners, for example? What's kind of the secret sauce? What needs to be done, on the back end, on the front end?
And so a lot of like what a lot of the success of Avalara comes to the founders, right? So Scott, the CEO, Marshall, and then Pat, and all these founding employees, like they all knew channels well, but integrations was new for them.
Okay.
And then monetizing integrations was newer for them, right? And so we have all learned, right, over the past, like, I don't know, 10 years or so, that integrations help with workflow. And if you can make the work flow naturally for customers, they will buy more software, or they will renew at a much higher rate than they used to, right? And so to me, even from the Avalara journey, the whole workflow, like if you split the words into work and flow, right? Into two, stuck with me from there. And in every integration partner where we did not have a workflow focus, and then we just signed them for the sake of signing them up, like there was just no revenue. And we always bucketed partners into partner bucket A, partner bucket B, partner bucket C, partner bucket D. And you could just tell, like after a while, and Balthazar Weiss was actually at Contest Square now. He actually created this partner scorecard, and we would every year just like tier our partners, but it would always come down to revenue first and number of customers second, because you got to acquire the customer before you can retain them, right? And if we do things that are natural to how they work, then those partnerships just flourished, right? And so that's how we got the theory of how we got to 1,100, or at least how Avalara got to 1,100 customer integrations. The painful journey, because there was no playbook, was dancing between build it yourself or build it externally and then buy it. And so there's this like dance, not dance, but maybe dance is too strong of a word, or maybe too like fun of a word, but there's a balance between understanding when you're going to bring an integration that somebody else has built in-house, or when you're going to leave it out, or why you're going to leave it out there. And it always comes down to the number of customers that are using it, because they start talking about things. So again, it's like the whole thing just becomes about like revenue, repeatability, rigor, resilience, respect, right? Like I know they're all our words, but I've just been on a kick of like how does all this stuff actually work? And like if the people that understand how to build these partnerships with those fundamentals, they almost always become operator level folks. And there's a number of BD folks out there that have gone to become CEOs. A number.
I'm going to do a fast forward.
Sure.
Okay, I know that you've been in demand base, but there's a point where partnership leaders, kind of emerged, right?
Yeah.
So, because I would like to kind of talk about, what we do in partnership leaders, because there's a lot of different aspects to that community.
Yep.
But if you can kind of give us where it all started and why community was kind of something so special in that sense of building ecosystems, and how the trends moved from just partnership to kind of the bigger picture of how we build ecosystems, what it means, what it involves in, how companies should evolve within that space.
Yeah. Okay. So I can give you in like 3 minutes, like the genesis of partnership leaders, and then we can talk about the where we are now, right? Right. And so after Avalara, I went to this company called Lean Data because lead writing was a problem at Avalara, and I thought, like, if I know the problem, I can actually go solve it, right? And things, transparently, things, at least for me, did not work out well at Lean Data for a number of reasons, and I'll take all the responsibility myself because you have to be accountable to it. But what I did realize is, for the very first time in my life, I felt lost. And then they're like, you're a VP of partnerships, and you've just started to understand how boards work and how like executive teams work and stuff like that. And then if it didn't work out well, at least for me, it didn't work out well. What happens after that, right?
Right.
And at that point in time, I felt lost. And then when I felt lost, I started, what everybody else does is you look inside of you and say, wait a sec, is it me or is it the world, right? And I'm like, I think it's me, right? And of course, there's some level of me that had to grow up, right? But the other problem was the experimentation that goes around partnerships in early stage companies actually puts a big dent on the journey of these partnership leaders. And then the way the partnership leaders act and perform also is the other part of the problem, because they don't perform like operators.
Right.
And so the two coming together creates a lot of pain all around, right? So at that point in time, I said, well, this is interesting. I think it's me. I should go talk to a few people. And I talked to my friend, Victor Belfort, and he was like, man, this is like a typical story of in partnerships, right? Like, you're just starting to figure this thing out, right? And then I'm like, well, this sucks. So where do people go? And they're like, nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just text a few friends and that's how you know it. I'm like, wait a sec, wait. So sales has a community, marketing folks have a community, customer success folks have a community, but partnerships people don't have a community, right? And so I started doing some research around like, where do partnerships people hang out? And it really was in bars. And I'm like, well, that's gonna be tough, because if we want to do something material and progress, bars are not going to be where we all hang
We
out.
all like bars, but we need to
Yeah,
do a bar hopping in order to meet every single
totally.
leader.
And the
Yeah.
concept is like all around like night activities and connecting, right? But then
Right.
my journey up to this point was all about monetizing relationships for both parties, not the creating the relationships for both parties, right? And so like I was just like, well, the operators need to figure out how to create and monetize relationships, and I think there's a lot more emphasis on creating the relationships, not enough on the monetizing them, right? And so then I met Chris and Ty, and then we started. Chris sent out this email chain, and then from there, like Partnership Leaders is now 1,300 members around the world. We
Strong.
were free.
Going
We
strong.
were
Yeah.
sorry.
Going strong.
Growing strong. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
super fortunate. But
Yeah.
we used to be a free community. We could not afford to do anything material for people. Our goal is actually to provide high quality content, high quality connections, high quality experience, so that we can get to the level of what great looks like, which is what sales and marketing leaders already know, and that's why they all prefer to go become CROs and CMOs. And I'll say in the middle of this whole journey, as Partnership Leaders was really a hobby. It was not a legit company, right?
Mhm.
I actually went to become the CRO of this company called Demand Matrix, which actually got bought by Demand Base. And so I really challenged myself to understand, like, well, what would it take to go from a VP of partnerships to become a CRO? Because that jump seems very very straightforward also. Or you could go become CEO as well. I just didn't have anything to go be CEO of back then.
Right.
And but the likely jump definitely looked like understanding how the customer engine works, soup to nuts, and then figure out how do you then scale, right? And so we grew a Demand Matrix, which is a bootstrap company, through COVID, and then got it to a point where it was acquirable. And thank you to everybody at Demand Base for bringing us in, and we had an awesome time there. But in the middle, like Partnership Leaders just became a bigger project. And we used to joke around internally between Krista and I that, like, hey, whenever, not joke around, but maybe we were pretty serious actually. But we said, whenever this thing becomes bigger and demands that we go work on it full time, we should go work on it full time. And so that just happened after
And
Catalyst.
the
Like
rest of this is
Catalyst,
history.
and it is. It really
It
is. And
is.
because if you think about it, like you were at Catalyst, right?
Yeah.
Like we put a conference together in 90 days, and effectively 90 days, and Catalyst like really
That's
like put
boom.
us on the
That
map.
was booming. That was something special.
Yes, and everybody that came to Catalyst like has that moment of creating the next level of partnership leaders in them. And again, for the longest time, people didn't know that Krista and I like ran partnership leaders because we never made it about us. And it's still not about us, right? It's about the PL diamond, right? The PL diamond is a symbol of hope. It's a symbol of success. It's a symbol of foundation. It signals that there's a home that is professionally built for leaders in partnerships, right? Or people that want to become leaders in partnerships. And so all of that stuff happened, and then Chris went full-time, as we all know, like in November.
Right.
And then I was able to actually go full-time at the beginning of this year. If not, I would have gone full-time later on in this year. But this was, I would say, this is our calling, and at least for me, I wanted to create the home for partnerships people, because the feeling that I felt from being lost, I just never wanted somebody else to go feel that. And I'm proud to say that like Partnership Leaders today is doing a lot of amazing work in making sure that people get back on their feet. They have an understanding of what it takes to become a industry benchmark leader. We have a lot of work to do. I mean, but we have 10 years to do this, right? We're not building a T2, D3 billion-dollar company. We're building people.
I think there was a quantum leap, because I've been in the channels for the past, I don't know, 15 years or so.
Yeah.
I'm a channel guy. So it's been a quantum leap over the past 2 years.
Yep.
Right? In that space. In terms of how deep we understand kind of the flywheel of those partnerships and ecosystems, the richness of data that supports all those decisions that we've made on a daily basis, right? Different companies and tech stack that is being built over the past 2 years. A lot of money is being injected into those companies, right? So it's amazing how, we simply, I think, evolved, every single one of us in a way that we haven't done for 10 years before.
Yeah.
Right. At least from my perspective. Now, you talked to a lot of head of partnerships, right? VP of partnerships, CEOs, CROs, etc. But within that space of our space, talking to those guys, what's kind of the three most super important topics that keeps them awake at night?
Yeah. Just to provide a little bit of color on like the journey of where we are, right? In partnerships and ecosystems and whatever you would call it, but to me, it's like indirect growth, right?
Right.
It's like when Crossbeam came on the map, they really solved the data problem. And if you think about it, Salesforce solved the data problem. Like a lot of these companies like that solved the data problem actually built a movement around them, right? And so Crossbeam coming out of the map and Bob like actually taking the risk on to like go build this thing out, right? Really created an environment where partner people could get their jobs done better and faster, right? And again, we'll go back to the workflow, right? The minute you make workflow, you're gonna make a lot of dough. Actually, that may be a tagline from here, right?
Right.
But the thing is,
I'm writing it down.
Actually, that may actually, if you make workflow, you can make dough. That's actually a cool one.